All right, guys. So there was a interesting segment on The View in which they were talking about toxic femininity. And yeah, I think it was interesting because I can't think of a show on top of my head that has more toxic femininity than The View. Okay, all the cackling hens are nothing but trouble, and bringing them all together is how you have a show like The View, which has become an absolute total joke. Okay, but this show, they didn't have the most toxic cackling hens, Joy Behar and Sunny Holston, and they were having this discussion. And at one point, Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's supposed to be the conservative on the panel, snaps at Ana Navarro after she makes a joke about Alyssa Farah working at the Trump White House as an example of toxic femininity, right? Her working around Kellyanne Conway. That's why Alyssa feels the way she does about toxic femininity. So without further ado, go ahead and play the clip.
Apparently the term toxic masculinity comes up a lot these days, but women took to Reddit to talk about when they faced toxic femininity from other women, like being told to act like a lady or getting bullied by other moms. Is this something you are aware of?
No, wait, before we begin, let me tell you something. I think we have a legal note from the werewolves.
No, I think it is real, though. We've come a long way in kind of critiquing some of the male practices that are not helpful and that needed to be called out. And I think that women have made a ton of progress, but we can also be each other's worst enemies. It's still the case, and I hate to say it, some of the worst bosses I've had have been women, and sometimes colleagues in the workplace who are women. And I always think of the Madeleine Albright quote.
Well, that's what happens when you work with Kellyanne Conway.
I mean, well, I can't really get a word in without you attacking me, so I wouldn't say this is a
I haven't attacked you
totally
like in 2
different.
weeks.
This isn't like a totally different environment of women supporting each other. But Madeleine Albright's always said there's a special place in hell for women who don't help and support other women. Right. And it's something I try to live by. I think that we have a duty to kind of give that back, especially for the women who come after us.
Yeah, so that was an interesting moment because clearly it shows the behind the scenes dynamic between all of these women. And it really just goes to show what I've been telling you guys the whole time about the mainstream liberal media and how they feel about Republicans or conservatives. It doesn't matter if you don't support Trump. They still don't like you, right? They still hate you. They still think that you're a bad person. You're just less of a bad person if you decide to tap dance for them in regards to spewing anti-Trump rhetoric, right? With Alyssa Farah Griffin, I don't know why she was actually chosen to be the conservative woman on The View, but my gut feeling tells me that she was chosen because she's anti-Trump, but she worked at the Trump White House, okay? So they can say, well, we're not discriminating against people who are associated with Trump, right? But at the same time, they don't actually want a woman who is a strong conservative that supports Trump. They don't want that. That's their worst nightmare, right? So they settle for her, okay? Just to say that, well, we have somebody that was affiliated with Trump, but they don't like Trump, and she can give us the tea, right? She can give us the inside tea, all the dirt that went on at the White House so that we can laugh, okay? So we can make fun of Trump. That's what's going on here. But deep down, people like Ana Navarro, who also claims to be a Republican and conservative, but really she's liberal, all those cackling hens at the table, they don't like Alyssa because, again, she is not liberal enough, right? Again, to conservatives, we feel like, she's kind of, she basically aligns with them. That's what it seems like. But she still claims to be conservative. And as long as she claims to be conservative, they're going to spew hate. They're going to spew vitriol, right? And this is what happens between women, right? You want to talk about toxic masculinity? What happens between men? Again, you got a whole table full of estrogen sitting there on The View, and you see how insane and toxic that environment is on a daily basis, okay? That's one of the most toxic shows on television, right? Again, for all this talk about men, again, any of these shows with all these women, right, is nothing but drama. Nothing but drama, okay? But again, you can see the dynamic there, and it just goes to show, like I've been saying, that, again, as long as you are conservative, doesn't matter if you hate Trump, they don't like you, right? They don't agree with you. You will always be in the out group, right? The only reason some of these Republicans are on MSNBC and CNN is because they're tap dancing in their Trump hatred, right? They tap dance for liberal media when it comes to Trump hatred. But if they stop tap dancing, or the day that Trump becomes politically irrelevant, they're done, right? They're not going to be associated with CNN and MSNBC. The liberals don't want to associate them with all. That's just kind of how it goes. Alyssa should have knew that when she took the job, right? But again, I do understand why she snapped on Ana Navarro, because again, they don't like her, right? They don't like her because, again, she claims to be conservative. She's too conservative for them. But in regards to what she was saying about women and female bosses, 100% spot on, right? Throughout my professional career, all my bosses that have been female have been the absolute worst, okay? I remember at my last job getting caught up between office politics between two women. You know, I'm working for two women. Basically, I got two women bosses, and they don't like each other, right? So they coming to me telling me how much they don't like each other. They have two different work styles. I have to adjust to their work styles. They, do things in spite of each other. And as a man being caught up between that, you know who's the victim, right? You know who ends up getting punished, right? The man, right? The man is always going to take the blame, okay, in a situation like that, okay? I'm the one that's going to get the shit end of the stick, right? That's what happens in corporate America, okay? And that's my experience. Again, anytime I've had a woman that's been my boss, it's been a nightmare. I don't think that makes me sexist or misogynist, and if it does, I don't give a damn. I'm just keeping it 100. I can't stand the idea of having a woman be my boss for various reasons, okay? Not because I hate women, but simply because I just feel like you have to deal with a lot of emotions. You got to deal with a lot of drama, their mood on a day-to-day basis. Again, it's just always like that, right? It's always been like that, okay? And that's just my personal experience. So I get where Alyssa's coming from. I don't necessarily think that women need to support women all the time just because they're women. When you talk about being in the workforce, you should support competent people and good leaders, regardless of whether or not they are men or women. But we also need to recognize, that, hey, for as much as men can be toxic, women can be just as toxic, if not more toxic, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.